1, 2, 3, Witty.
You know what? I think Johnny Bravo is actually underrated. It could be considered one of the pioneers of Cartoon Network, being a part of the original Cartoons lineup in the golden age of the network itself. That alone should give it some respect, but I think as a show, it's underrated as well. It really has great comedic timing, lightning fast pace, slapstick, and some witty humor at times that I feel matches a lot of the humor style of today, and I feel it should get more respect and appreciation than it does. And I say this even though the show was well for my time. I didn't grow up with it, and I recommend watching some clips online. They're hilarious.
Good thing the window's open.
Granted, it might be because the show hasn't quite aged all too well. Everyone knows that the show is about a dude named Johnny who's just a textbook himbo, trying his best to get on with the ladies and constantly being rejected. And you can say that the show objectifies and demeans women, but in all honesty, I kinda say it's the opposite, as Johnny is a huge muscly meathead and constantly gets thrown around by these girls, and shows that being a cocky jerk getting handsy with flirting doesn't get you the girl. You have to be legitimately sincere and treat them with respect. And a lot of these ladies are depicted as really competent and high-standing careers. Luckily, not all episodes are about him trying to simp for a girl he just met, as the episode premises can get pretty wild and out there, and some that instead revolve around Johnny being a complete idiot in a situation he has no right to be in, like somehow getting on an intergalactic game show where the loser's planet gets destroyed. Wait a minute, did Jimmy Neutron rip off this episode? And Johnny's still a funny and charismatic lead, and I respect any character that wears sunglasses 24/7.
Mama warned me about women like you. I was hoping she was right.
But with the premise of the show being Johnny continually trying and failing to get the girl, it makes me wonder, how many times did he actually succeed? In the show's 4-season run, how many times did Johnny fall for the girl? But more importantly, how many times did the girl fall for him back? Was he a constant failure, or did he have more successes than we thought he would? So let's check it out. Let's see, how many times did Johnny Bravo actually win? Okay, so I just want to go over what I'm counting. Johnny has to have legitimate attractions to the girl in the episode. Yeah, that seems obvious enough, but there's quite a few cases where Johnny doesn't like the girl he's stuck with, even if they like him in return. Usually in cases of, haha, she's ugly, or even weird at times like when he goes out with an animal. Yeah, Johnny has had romantic flings with talking animals, and it happens more times than it should. Yeah, there's talking animals in universe, there's basically no rule consistency, just accept it. So like, Johnny going out with an antelope doesn't count since Johnny clearly is into her, and she even admits she's just going out with him to make her boyfriend jealous. Who's an angry lobster that has to kill him again? Go with it. But more importantly, the girl has to like Johnny back legitimately. Again, dating out of jealousy or pity doesn't count, there has to be legitimate love and attraction there. Johnny has to win them over somehow, either immediately or through their actions. And this mutual love has to stay throughout the episode, and the girl can't be disgusted and hate them at the end. So there has to be a mutual and consistent love through the episode that doesn't get ruined unless by an external force. Okay? So let's get into it. I want to go chronologically, so going through season 1. And while it does break the rules, I kinda want to talk about Wolf and Chick's clothing. I think this is one of the most iconic episodes, but I kinda don't like it. Also, fun fact, this was the start of the careers of, I kid you not, Butch Hartman and Seth MacFarlane, as well as Steve Marmel, the guy who actually made Butch's work good. Yeah, this episode was written and directed by old Butch himself, and he definitely left his fingerprints on it. So it had a blind date with Johnny being with a hot girl nicknamed Fluffy, but oh no, they were actually a werewolf, in a style that really doesn't match the rest of the show, looking very Cookie Crisp-like. But even though Johnny's off put by it, he still tries to go with it to smooch her when she's normal when the sun comes back up. And yeah, this show just kind of meanders with the same running gags because Butch loves his running gags.
A werewolf! It's the werewolf from the restaurant! It's the werewolf from the theater!
But at the end, Johnny is finally able to get his flirt on without the awkwardness, but then it turns out Fluffy also turns into...
These days I changed into an annoying little bald man named Malvin who collects stamps. Wanna see some?
Yep, definitely a Hartman script. And that's all Johnny can take as he runs away as far as he can. Now, this doesn't count and is a good example of what shouldn't, since Johnny already had reservations about his date, but in the end, even though he wanted to continue, couldn't take it anymore and the relationship was ruined, much like other similar cases when he tried to avoid icky women. But next one is legit in the episode Bravo, James Bravo. Guess what this is parroting? So Johnny gets involved with a secret agent named...
And I'm bonded. Jane bonded.
Okay, that's kinda great. Stopping a supervillain scientist named Pencil Neck, voiced by Richard Horvitz.
No, sure, just pick on the nerd. Just because he stole some plutonium for his doomsday device.
Man, this guy keeps showing up on my channel, didn't expect him here. And yet this character sells more dignity than Subliminal.
No! No, no! It isn't fair!
But Johnny messes up, and due to stupid agent protocols means that he has to help out to Jane's annoyance. He's given the usual gadgets, of course being cosmetics, but Johnny actually shows some prowess here. I guess there's one thing he's good at, with things that make him look good. But due to Johnny's stupidity, they get captured as Pencil Neck reveals us look a lot like her, which he plans to use to turn everyone on the planet to look like him after he was bullied so much.
We'll all be the same.
That's horrible, but sadly, very politically correct.
But Johnny pleads to look at himself one last time, which he obliges, as Johnny, in by far the most competence he's had maybe in the series, uses the gadgets to free them and take out the guards and Pencil Neck. Like, you might say this was an accident, but no, you see it was somehow his plan. He was shown to be skilled there earlier, so this all looks to be him. Like, holy crap, he legitimately outsmarted and outskilled the villains here. This is unprecedented. And so Pencil Neck's arrested and Johnny can leave, but he asks for a kiss from Miss Jane. And surprisingly, she's actually into it and obliges. Like, he did it. He actually won here, no cap. He did it in season 1. Granted, she got malaria right after, but who cares? It still counts. So yeah, in season 1, Johnny did successfully win the heart of the girl and got a kiss, and the episode didn't end with them breaking up. It's actually really surprising that they subverted it that early. But that's just one example, let's keep going. Season 2, we get a lot more stuff for this list. Starting technically with Bikini Space Planet, an homage to classic sci-fi stories, where after hilariously failing to get the girl at Pops' diner,
For the love of humanity! No!
they get the attention of members of an all-female alien race, who offer a date ritual with him, and of course he accepts.
Let me think about it. Okay, I thought about it.
Where they go through their ship to their home planet of Estron 3, where they want to see if he is the peak male specimen, which Johnny would go through anything if it means getting a date, even if it means a lot of physical pain and painful reminders of a post-2020 world.
Now you just need to be vaccinated.
Oh, mama!
But of course he wins, since this is the peak male performance, and deem him a superior performance and crown him the king of the society, complete with all the amenities wanted of a dude on Earth. But then Johnny, watching some cable movies, watches a Braveheart homage where all the alien ladies are enthralled with the lead and fawn over him, dumping Johnny back on Earth haphazardly. There's also a side plot where Johnny's friends Carl and Pops try to get him back, but Johnny somehow blames them despite the alien ladies getting rid of him themselves. So this doesn't count, since not only the alien ladies only really love him in a scientific way, but got rid of them when they found someone hotter. So it nearly got there until the ending. But moving on to another season 2 episode, there's Forest Chump, where Johnny and Carl are canoeing when they go through what must literally always happen in this setup, go over a waterfall, where Johnny loses Carl and shows the amount of respect due to him.
Guess Carl didn't make it. I'll miss a little feller. Well, can't mourn forever. Wonder if there's a burger joint around here.
And soon after meets an attractive lady alone in the woods. Then of course flirts with them and gives them a flower, which he then bonks him over the head, but surprisingly it's not a rejection as she hair drags them, okay, to their weird society of woodland tribal people. They're also shown to speak a unique language, but they just cut to English, so what's the point? So the king, whoever, says that in their culture, giving the flower means Johnny proposed to their daughter Rootsy, and they're going to get married. Johnny thinks this is pretty much what he's wanted, imagine their life together, spoofing I Love Lucy, and they're both surprisingly into it. Yeah, they're actually in love and are going to marry, who would have guessed? But just as they're giving their vows, Carl shows up and saves Johnny when he doesn't want to be saved. And then this somehow means that they have angered their gods and must be sacrificed. Because I guess we haven't hit all the cartoon native tropes yet. And Johnny says the obvious.
How was I supposed to know you liked her?
Hot babe with a treehouse. What's not to like?
But they somehow get saved and escape on the canoe as we see Rootsy is legitimately sad that she lost her fiance. It's actually kind of sad, there's no real resolution there. But yeah, that's another instance. Johnny technically won the girl. He didn't really do too much there, but he fell for Rootsy and she fell for him, and they were going to get happily hitched. If Carl didn't sabotage it, they could have gone together. So yeah, that's 2 times Johnny actually won the girl at the end. Next up, Brave New Johnny. Kinda similar to a previous entry, but Johnny ends up falling into a vat of hair gel that perfectly preserves him far into the future, where he's shown the new world by Carl's descendants. Honestly, I'm surprised that Carl even got the chance to procreate, considering he's a complete nerd stereotype. And of course, as we all learn after we watch utopian movies and cartoons as a kid, the actual future sucks balls. They go to Pops' diner as he's still alive, albeit just as a talking head.
Well, why doesn't everyone preserve their heads and live forever?
Well, Johnny, it's a sad, freakish existence.
Before Johnny gives up on the crummy future, he sees a future chick. No, seriously, she has no name, she's referred to as future chick. So Johnny does his thing and she actually reciprocates, weirdly enough. Like, why does it be Johnny's fastest track record for winning a girl? But it turns out kissing is outlawed in the future, so I have to do this weird, painful electric shock transfer thingy. So, does that count? Like, really, does this count as winning the girl? I mean, he was attracted to her, she reciprocated and gave a kiss equivalent. I guess it does. So that's technically 3 times. But it doesn't matter anyways, they're called by Big Brother. And you're never gonna guess this, but Big Brother is a weird deformed guy telling horrible stand-up voiced by none other than Tim Curry. Yes, the actual Tim Curry. What the hell? Who thought of this?
Thank you. My, what a crowd.
Johnny Bravo is no stranger to celebrity appearances. They got Adam West in the first season and freaking Shaq ended it. But this is the one and only role he's got in here. It's so weird.
Now, buddy, I'll say to you what I say to all my critics. Seize him!
But anyway, Johnny Bravo escapes the future because of what regular show said.
We gotta find the time machine.
What?
We're in the future, bros. There's gotta be a time machine.
But of course, ending with the cycle repeating. Now, this is a weird one. The episode isn't even about the relationship, and it was a joke on how terrible relationships would be in the future. But it's still a technical win for Johnny since, again, he got a relation with a willing girl that he wanted. Next up, Noir Johnny. This one's also a weird case. So little Susie wants Johnny's help to find her missing doll, even though she should probably know by now that Johnny is probably the worst person in the world to solve a case, but is probably the only person she can get to help her out, as she easily tricks him to do it.
You would be a detective, and you know how girls love private eyes.
I'll take the case.
And Johnny embraces the noir role and fails to find any suspects in the playground until he comes across a hot woman just called Femme. And of course they play the role as a stereotypical femme fatale tied to the case. Johnny does his flirt but also questions them and of course gets a cold rejection. And then Johnny...
Good. Then I'll have to search you.
Whoa, okay dude, you're going too far. And guess what's coming to him? But Femme says he's kinda cute and they can talk later in private. But Susie recommends that Johnny stop fighting suspects in the playground and instead in the ramshackle parts of town. Which he then goes to Pops. And there's another joke I love.
Well, maybe this will jog your memory.
Really, Johnny, I don't know a thing.
Ring any bells now? Kid, that's all I have. Now start singing.
Sorry, son, I got nothing.
Oh, then can I have my money back?
No.
But Pops recommends to rouse some guys in the diner for info, and then starts to bully one guy who was actually willing to help him. And then he threatens them with drops of water. Wait, did this predict that Caleb City video making fun of overpowered protagonists and killing people with light objects? But of course he shoots himself in the foot again as Johnny gives up, but Susie once again is a master manipulator of the brainless.
Double your salary.
But you're not paying me anything.
I'll triple it.
Done.
About their classic noir scene and monologue, Johnny just figures to buy her a new doll to be done with it, but finds Femme stealing the toys herself, as after an unorthodox interrogation, she admits her scheme.
I'm hoarding them all so I can resell them to kids at jacked up prices.
How evil! But luckily Susie comes with the cops to arrest her as she gives the classic femme fatale ending. But
Get me off the hook, Johnny, for old time's sake.
Sorry, Toots. You ran me over with a tiny car. You're taking a fall.
it turns out that after all of this, that Femme said that she actually did love him from the start and kisses him. Yeah, really, they did. And of course, Johnny desperately tries to free them to no avail. Now, on the one hand, you can't consider this not a real relationship since this is parroting noir detective stories where the femme fatale is a fling with the main lead. But on the other hand, even if it's just a parody, they still did admit to loving Johnny and even kissing them. So even if the relationship had non-existent development, it counts. That's another girl that Johnny technically won over. But I should probably get to the one most people expected. An earlier Valentine's Day special, we find out that Johnny was actually born on the day, fittingly enough. And of course Johnny's excited to get a date, but soon we see Mama Bravo has arranged a blind date with a girl named Heather Asplund. And admittedly, Johnny's pretty skeevy here.
You know I hate your taste in women. You're a chick. You go for personality.
And then tries to get his own dates. But of course, this is Johnny we're talking about. It never works at all, as the first half of the special is pretty much all his plans falling apart as he can never win a girl over. But after most of the day, he coincidentally ends up right in the place of his mom's arranged date and meets Heather. And ironically enough, she's a total knockout and she immediately goes for the kiss. And then the special gets randomly interrupted by Donny Osmond, as Donny tries to help him on their date, of course telling him not to objectify them or get all egotistical. Heather doesn't get to the awkwardness of dates and says they can just talk about him, which of course Johnny loves. It's shown that both are vain about their appearances too, and Heather has weird karate moves. Granted, Johnny does too. And you feel there's a legitimate chemistry here, unlike practically every other relationship in the show so far. Johnny even defends her from a creep ironically doing the same thing Johnny does, and it's so surprising to see. They're both just as flirty to each other and agree to go on the perfect date. And of course it's absolutely adorable, with them working out together, being goofy together, randomly making poses in public, and going to the carnival together. It's so freaking adorable and heartwarming.
They're adorable and deserve all the happiness.
Like, I'm not kidding, the wholesome levels are off the chart. It's so great after everything I've said to see Johnny with someone who likes him back and with a legitimately lovable and developed relationship with Johnny after so long getting the perfect soulmate. Like seriously, OTV material here. But at the end, Heather has something she has to say.
Don't tell me you're a werewolf.
No.
An antelope?
No.
A female impersonator?
No, nothing like that.
Huh, nice callbacks. But they're randomly attacked by ninjas as Heather manages to fight them all single-handedly. Johnny speaks for all of us.
I don't know, but all I have to say is, whoa, mama!
And she explains why.
I'm actually a counterintelligence spy working for the CIA, trying to take down an underground group of spies who claim to be an offshoot of the CIA but are actually part of the bad guys.
Well, that's sure an explanation. Yeah, this kind of comes out of nowhere, and wait, is it the second red-haired spy girl who had a legitimate relationship with Johnny? But unfortunately, she knows her life is too dangerous for Johnny, as she knocks them out and makes them forget they ever met as she leaves forever. And yeah, it's heartbreaking. As Johnny wakes up, he thinks that he never got a date and feels dejected, wishing he could remember what he did. But going home, he's greeted by a surprise party as Johnny admits that he forgot all about his date with Heather. But he's given a gift by a secret admirer, which of course is Heather, saying he is a beautiful person, and inspires Johnny to get back into the game and get some last minute dates, which goes about as you expect. This is probably Johnny's most famous relationship, and it's really no secret why. Not only is it a special, but Heather was by far Johnny's most developed and compatible love interest. They have a similar vanity and egotism, but also a love of each other's appearances, but also aren't afraid to show their goofy side and get super intimate with each other. They're the type of people who really love flirting with each other, which is ironically the one thing that all the other girls can't stand. They really feel perfect for each other, and it's so sweet to see Johnny, the guy who constantly fails at love, and getting a girl to like him, finally finding essentially his soulmate, and it seems like she actually helps him be a better person and get over his vices a bit. But yeah, they couldn't be together since there would be no show otherwise. But they didn't end it with some frustrating Johnny messes up the relationship turn, but something outside of both's control, with both lying for the life they could have had. And Heather's one of the few people who showed Johnny legitimate respect and appreciation. It's kind of amazing that a silly show can make you feel this way, legitimately loving this couple and feeling heartbreak when they couldn't be together. And it's no doubt why it's the most iconic pairing in the show. But to say that Heather was the only girl Johnny got is not true, as we have the ones from before, and moving on. Now we're jumping all the way to season 4, where we get the long-coveted Johnny lore. In the episode Time of My Life, where after looking through Johnny's old high school yearbook, Susie asked about Johnny's old crush Sandy Baker, the most beautiful, popular, smartest, perfect girl in the school. But Johnny at the time was just a shrimpy wimp and nothing like the buff pimp he turned into, and makes making My Hero Academia jokes much more obvious. But yeah, Johnny at this point thought she was way out of his league, not helped by constantly getting bullied by the jocks. But it's actually Sandy who defends him, and it's love at first accidental slam down. They have this awkward cuteness as Sandy invites him to study with her. And that night, Johnny asked Sandy to go to the prom with him, and Sandy said she would love to go. And as much as Johnny loves to be going out with the prettiest girl in school, he thinks that she deserves so much better than him just as a scrawny weakling, and devotes himself to be a hot stud worthy of her. And he works non-stop for 6 whole weeks, working out and following the workout routine, eventually gaining the muscles and body he would have forever as his pride and joy. And it's really an interesting and weirdly wholesome route this show took. Johnny's body is his pride and joy, the source of his vanity and ego that so often gets him in trouble. But he didn't get the body just to get chicks. He did it because a girl took a chance on him, and he wanted to be someone worthy of that type of love. It's surprisingly compelling and wholesome that Johnny didn't do this for himself, but for legitimate love. And I kinda think that was the perfect explanation and adds a surprising amount of pathos as a goofy character. But as Johnny gets everything ready and goes to her door, she doesn't answer and sees the house empty. and Johnny thinks after everything, she stood him up, breaking his heart as he never saw her again. Even Susie's upset. But coincidence of coincidence, Sandy arrives in their house as Mama Bravo called them to visit to finally get some closure. Sandy's ecstatic to see them and amazed by how much he's changed. Johnny though is spiteful that they stood him up at prom, but Sandy explained that she didn't even go to the prom and said she would love to go, but her family was moving away so she couldn't. Johnny just didn't pay attention after "I would love to go with you." But she also says that Johnny was the only person who asked her out, showing that Sandy's status really did make her out of everyone's league, except for him taking that chance. Johnny tries to get back his chance by flirting, but Sandy says he's already married, and maybe this was a blessing in disguise because she has several kids, and of course Johnny hates kids.
Johnny, can you imagine having 7 kids just like me running around the house?
And yeah, that's another surprisingly heartwarming and wholesome relationship for this show. And it's another level of Johnny we've never seen, not only just physically, but emotionally, trying to actually become a better person and fundamentally change himself because he wants to be good enough for a girl who legitimately liked him back. And even though again it didn't work by outside forces, they still were on good terms once the misunderstanding cleared up, and they could have gone together in a different world. It's really surprising how well this show can tug on your emotions when it really tries, and I kind of appreciate that. Also, is it weird that most of Johnny's successful relationships come from redheads? Like, what gives? But that's it for the full show. Well, minus one thing. You see, Johnny Bravo actually got a movie, Johnny Goes to Bollywood. So apparently Johnny Bravo was really popular in India for some reason, and eventually they decided to make a full movie about Johnny going to India's Hollywood equivalent and getting to shenanigans. If you haven't heard of it, it's probably because it didn't actually air in the United States, but it did have an English dub that aired in C in Australia. Johnny Bravo being able to parody Avatar feels wrong.
Oh, mama! This guy is the worst actor since the guy from the real movie.
Whoa, okay.
Get some rest. We start shooting your next hit in an hour. Avasitar 2. It's set underwater, predictably.
Wait, okay, what? Did they actually predict it? They couldn't have! They couldn't have! Now, I don't want to get through the whole movie's plot as it's too long for this video, and it's honestly pretty freaking weird.
About a sensitive rat who dreams of working in one of the great restaurants of Europe.
Who wants to see a filthy rat put its dirty paws on human food? It'll never sell!
It's filled with Bollywood jokes and satire, but I don't know anything about it, so I can't comment on it.
Oh, we've got 28 pages of script to get through and 40 minutes to do it, so just because we've got plenty of time, I don't want anyone slagging off, right?
But once Johnny does make it to Bollywood, he's soon met with an actress named Sumi, who falls for him and becomes a co-star when Johnny becomes popular in the business. And whoa, okay, this is getting risque! Sumi's relationship with Johnny doesn't develop too much in the movie, but she does genuinely like him. She even helps out when Johnny gets wrapped up in the scheme by the stereotypical sleazy producers and the assassins out to kill the star. Though the movie treats it like Johnny getting crushed by a statue is enough to kill him, when Johnny's endurance is so comically much that the show even acknowledges he's practically indestructible. But Johnny works with the former biggest star in Bollywood, his practical counterpart Jiggy, to find that the producers would assassinate the lead actor after they finished their movies for the publicity. But they also have to stop the evil thugs from randomly sacrificing their friends, including Sumi. And I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure Temple of Doom is not an accurate depiction of India. And it turns out the monkey did it. But the movie ends quickly as it goes through credits where they're all dancing together. Honestly, I'm not a fan of this movie. I thought the plot was a mess and confusing, the humor kinda lacking, it's paced kinda badly, and has a lot of lol, random humor that feels more awkward when the show does and it doesn't work.
Brother, I shall strike Jiggy in a pressure point.
Really? I would have gone for something a little deadlier. A gun or something. Maybe a bomb.
It doesn't really feel like Johnny Bravo. The only character to return was Mrs. Bravo. But the focus of the video, Johnny did get another girl who fell for him with Sumi. But I seriously wish the relationship was actually developed because she felt like a complete afterthought. I didn't skip anything. Their relationship was barely developed. How did the other love interest get more development in less than 11 minutes when you had a full movie here? Even Johnny seems to ignore it, which is so out of character. We only really know that Sumi is as flirty as Johnny, if not even more down bad, and is willing to stand up for him when he's involved in an evil scheme, but that's it. But since it was the last thing Johnny Bravo made, I guess that makes her the final girl. So okay, with the whole series gone through, unless I missed someone, please tell me, let's see how many times Johnny Bravo actually won. How many times did he like a woman and the woman liked him back and he didn't ruin the relationship himself? Let's see. That makes Jane Bonded, Rootsy, Future Gal, Femme, Heather Asplin, Sandy Baker, and Sumi. So that means in the whole show, Johnny Bravo won 7 times. That's actually more than you think. The entire show is that Johnny is an egotistical idiot. He can't win over any girl no matter how hard he tries because he's so disingenuous. He'll always get what's coming to him and yet never learns. Sure, they sometimes subvert that by having get with a girl he has no interest in, but the formula of the show is always Johnny tries to get with the dream girl, but always fails. So it's surprising when the show actually subverts it and has Johnny get with the girl he was longing for and them liking him back. People just point to Heather Asplin as the one girl who liked Johnny back, and while I do acknowledge he's the best and most developed interest for Johnny, the show had plenty of other girls into him as well. And it's surprising how many times episodes like this develop Johnny's character more, showcasing surprising amounts of competence, sincerity, and devotion that really make you care for Johnny as a character. It's weird that you can emotionally care and root versus a meathead, but the show can a few times. It makes you think that if he does manage to get a girl to like him, maybe he can become a better person in the long run. And seeing Johnny's dedication, even as usually misplaced as it is, it feels so rewarding the few times he does win, and gets what he finally wanted even a few times. And it's made some of the most memorable episodes of the show. Well, except for the Scooby-Doo crossover, that was fun, but that doesn't count, even if Johnny was into Daphne. But wait, Velma was into him.
Don't worry, I don't bite.
Wait a minute, does Velma count as a love interest?
Man, do all supervillains just sit around watching Scooby-Doo? Hi, Velma.
What about this promo?
Velma, you got that formula for my new hair jelly yet?
Right here, Johnny.
Thanks, darling. Dinner?
Sure, Johnny.
Wait, so they are in a relationship? Freaking Velma Dinkley and Johnny Bravo are into each other. Whoa, mama.
Glasses. I can't see without my glasses.
My glasses. I can't be seen without my glasses.
Bro, same.